All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to our end of June masterclass today. My name is Jeremiah Taylor. I'm part of the team here at Ojo. Appreciate you all joining us on a Friday before a holiday week. Hey, if you're joining, we want to make sure that the chat works and that we can hear from you. So open up at the bottom of your Zoom window. There's a chat panel, and I want you to tell us not just where you're from, but where are you going to be for the 4th of July? So I'll go first. I'm in Tucson, Arizona, and for the 4th, I will be in Encinitas, California. Home, working. Yeah, Chris and I were just talking about that with spring. Real estate agents don't get days off like the rest of the world. So yeah, that's great. Chat is working. Love it. We're over 200 people already. Spring. I expected nothing less. We will have a huge audience today.
Hey, Jeremiah, since I think we need to arrange you to do a training with my team in Encinitas while you're there.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I thought you were going to put a headset on me and have me call expireds while I was in Encinitas for you.
Well, we'll do that too.
That'll be the training. Here's how Jeremiah calls expired. Don't do that.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Awesome. Well, hey, welcome everybody. I see people still kind of cruising in. If you're just joining us, thank you. My name is Jeremiah Taylor. I'm part of the Ojo team. We've got an amazing masterclass set up for you today. It's going to be an interview with Spring Bengtzen. If you're just joining, throw in the chat where you are joining from today, and then tell us where you're going to be over the 4th of July. So we'll get started. Actually, it's 11:05. Let's get started. Chris, I think you had some kind of opening thoughts.
I do. First of all, thanks for everyone for being here. It's a Friday. It is the Friday before the 4th of July. It's summertime. There are a million things that people like to do in the summertime. Fun things, hiking, biking, swimming, everything else. And we know in real estate, we keep working because people need to buy and sell homes and we need to help them. So we appreciate you taking the time to be here with us. Hey, the reason we do these is really simple. We want to deliver as much value to all of you as possible. And value doesn't just come in the form and shape of introducing you to buyers and sellers. It also comes in the shape of bringing super talented people that are doing great things and having them share with you so that you can take some of those ideas and some of those tricks, tips, and tactics and put them to use in your business. So that's why we're doing this, and we're thrilled you're here with us.
Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce Spring. Now, I've got a little bio here. We've been sending out a ton of marketing, so most of you likely feel like you know Spring, but if you don't, Spring Bengtzen runs one of the top producing real estate teams, not just in the country, not just in Utah, but in the country. In 2022, they sold nearly 600 homes. And this year, in a market where most people are going backwards, they're pacing to sell 900 homes. They're one of the top teams in the nation. Spring also, like many of you, has her hands in other business ventures. She owns a title company, a real estate coaching company, Spring B Coaching, not to mention that she is a wife, a mom, and a mentor. And with all of her free time, Spring also does crazy things like the Everest Challenge, which includes climbing Snow Basin in Utah 13 times in 36 hours, something I will never get my head around. So Spring, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today and excited to have you.
Thank you for having me. I love it. I love seeing so many people on here. You guys have a good crowd for a Friday. So it's awesome.
Yeah, this is an excellent group of learning-based agents that are here today. And it doesn't hurt in a market where most people are going backwards to have somebody that is having tremendous success join and share their secrets. So I'm excited for that. And I think I would love to just kind of open it with you of like, hey, today is the last day of the first half of the year, or maybe that's tomorrow, sorry. We're right at the end of the first half. Where's your head at? What are you noticing as you close out the first half? And kind of how would you open up for our talk today in terms of like, where's your mindset going into the second half of the year?
Yeah, I'm excited for the second half. Even as you mentioned, we're having a phenomenal year. it didn't start that way. I mean, the year started great, but the end of last year was actually brutal, which is what had us have the momentum. And I'll share with you on that. But moving into the second quarter or the second half of the year, homes are selling, buyers are out, they're excited. There's homes to sell. We have a little bit more inventory. And so, yeah, I'm excited. I actually think if we can keep our consistency with what we're doing on the team, we might even get close to 1,000 transactions, which the only reason I share that is because we are growing right now and we are seeing that movement, which is really fun, especially when last year, this time we were like, oh crap, what is going on? And what do we do? So yeah, we're having fun. I'm having fun with it.
It's
Yeah,
spring.
that's
So,
amazing.
sorry, Jeremiah. Jeremiah, are you okay if I ask some questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, just so everyone knows, Spring, where exactly in Utah are you?
Yeah, so I'm in a suburb just 20 minutes outside of Salt Lake City. It's in Davis County. It's called Farmington, Utah.
Got it. And so do you service the whole Salt Lake City?
Yeah, so
area?
luckily for us, like there's one MLS and there's a long I-15 that goes across the corridor called the Wasatch Front. And so, yes, we service the entire Wasatch Front, basically from Ogden to Provo. Our main core business is in Davis and Salt Lake County. And we have an office in Davis County, and then I have a satellite office in Salt Lake as well. What we found, Chris, is agents don't necessarily want to drive to a suburb outside, right? And so having that extra office has just made it that we can attract more agents to be in our ecosystem.
Great. Hey, you made the comment that, looking at the second half of the year, if you can keep up your consistency and momentum,
Yeah.
what's the biggest challenge to doing that? Or what do you need to do? Or what do you need to do with your agents to make sure they do that?
It's really about keeping their mindset in check. We have enough lead flow. I mean, we're a partner with Ojo. We've got our own other lead flows. So it's really not a lead issue. And I would probably say that with everybody on this call. It's really not about leads. You actually made a social post the other day about, hey, there's 3 different ways to generate leads. And I agree with you 1000%. At this point, it's summertime. Agents, just like most of us, get in that like, hey, we're going to go boating or we're going to go hiking, all the things you said, and they stop working. So it really is keeping that momentum. The conversation I'm having with them is, hey, I really want you to have a fun summer and I want you to have a life. Like, you got into this industry for a reason. And I also, when the summer's over, want to make sure you're not financially in a situation that you wish you would have worked. So how about we work for 3 or 4 hours of being consistent at doing the mundane, and then you can go out golfing in the afternoon, or you can go boating. And so really, we're putting a lot of emphasis of do the work now so you can have the life that you want to have outside of this office. So truthfully, Chris, that's my biggest obstacle right now is getting them to work. So
I had a conversation with I think 3 of them are millennials and one was a Gen Z about that concept of, work hard, then play hard.
Yeah.
And the responses I got were not consistent with that. The response I got was, hey, we want to have the experiences. We want to enjoy things now because we don't know, what's going to happen later. It's a different way of thinking. And something that I think we all deal with the people on our teams or of the different generations.
Well, I don't even think it's a generational thing for me. I mean, yes. So I have 5 children, you guys. Some of them are in their late teens and early 20s. And so, yes, I see that. Like my son, who's 17, sells solar, and he yesterday is like, hey, Mom, I worked extra hard today, so I'm going to take tomorrow off. And I said, well, how about you worked extra hard and then you work again tomorrow so you can get ahead, instead of being like, well, now I can take the day off. It's just a different way of thinking. But in terms of my agents, what I find, Chris, is like they might make a bunch of money one month and then they're like, oh, I'm good. And it's just because we all have that thermostat in life. And we have it with our health, we have it with our finances, we have it with everything, that we have that like comfortable zone. And once they hit that comfort zone, they're like, foot off the gas, and that's just human behavior. So first of all, letting them be aware of that, and then second of all, like, cool, I'm going to support you. So the way that I explain the team is we're a vehicle. Like, I'm going to provide the vehicle, and you get to decide how fast you want to go. So if you want to drive the Prius, I'm cheering you on. Cool. If you want to drive the Ferrari, I'm here to get you the Ferrari, but you have to decide how quickly you want to go. And so we have it on all levels, but that's probably my biggest thing of like, keep consistent, just keep on doing the boring to get the life that you want outside of the office. So.
Yeah, I love that. I love the, and by the way, those 4 young people I were talking to were my 4 kids. No, but I love the concept of the thermostat. Like,
Yeah.
hey, you want to stay in your comfort zone, or let's get you out of your comfort zone, and then being the vehicle for whatever, wherever they want to go.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jeremiah,
as I hear you all talk, Spring, I'm sure that we have some people on this call that when they hear 900 or 1,000 units, that they're like, they can't even connect the dots on what that even begins to look like. I've heard people at your level say it actually got easier and you got more freedom back as you scaled and got bigger. So maybe talk about 2 things. One is like, just generally, what does 1,000 unit team look like? And like, is your life crazy, or is it actually easier at this level?
Yeah, so my life's actually incredibly rewarding and fulfilling right now. So let me tell you guys what happened. Is I've been in real estate for 20 years. I did the whole, I worked for a land developer for my first 10 years selling like vacation homes. And then that developer went bankrupt, and I joined Keller Williams at the time, and they promote teams. So I was like, yep, I'm going to start a team. This will be great. I had no business starting a team. I was not a leader. I just was a great agent. But I put myself in environments to learn what to do. Fast forward, I had the same size of team for probably 7 or 8 years. And I would hear people like myself on these webinars and be like, no, thank you. I would never want to do that. That sounds exhausting, crazy. I can't even picture it. And one day I was driving down the road with one of my children, and my phone was ringing of clients. My phone was ringing of agents. I was just like, oh my gosh, what have I got myself into? Like, I feel like I'm living Groundhog Day every single day. I called one of my coaches. I didn't call him. On my next coaching call, I just said, I think I'm going to burn this down. I could go back and be a solo agent, sell 4 or 5 homes a month, like no big deal, and have a life without all of this. And he said, Spring, I respect you and you can do what you want to do, but do you really see yourself really going backwards? And I was like, well, no, not really. He's like, well, then you need to start treating it like a business and get some leverage and start putting things into place. And so, Jeremiah, that started my journey of like massive coaching, shadowing other offices, hiring leverage. I hired a sales director. That scared the crap out of me. I was like, I have to guarantee a salary. Oh my gosh, but that's when all the growth came, truthfully, was when I started doing that. So what it looks like today is I have a team of, it varies between agent count, but we're roughly probably about 70. The highest we've been has been 90 agents. It's myself, and then Justin is our sales director, sales leader. Sarah's our director of operations, and I have a transaction coordinator, and then the rest of our organization is ran virtually. So we have a team of 12 VAs that run everything. And Sarah manages that, and they run our transaction management down to our lead flow, to report cards, to our reporting. And one of the biggest things for me, Jeremiah, was I did not want to build a large team that wasn't profitable. So I had zero desire to be like, I want to go build something that's big and not make any money. And a lot of times it's easy to do that as the bigger you get, that your profit margins just dwindle. And so part of that has come with making sure we run a large international team, keeping our expenses, and then great partnerships with like people like you guys that help provide the lead flow and getting our agents into production. So
that's amazing. So 70 to 90 agents. My bet is that there were some plateaus along the way that
Oh, yeah.
felt a little harder than others.
Yeah.
And I'd love to hear a little bit about those and what you learned. And then the second is, where do you find 70 to 90 agents? Are those like new licensees? Are they seasoned agents you're recruiting? Help people think about that.
Yeah. So we've had a lot of plateaus. So for the longest time, around a small team of like maybe 4 to 7 agents, that was like my sweet spot. And then we went from about 7 to 12, and then 12 to 20. And then we stayed at that 12 to 20. And then it was like, okay, well, now we've got it in place. We go 20 to like, what would 10 more do? And quite frankly, the reason that we got as large as we have was a couple of things. One, I realized that more agents didn't mean more work. And if we systemized everything, then we could bring them on. So we bring them on in groups. So twice a month we do onboarding, and we take them through a 2-week boot camp, which the first week is Hello Week. The second week is onboarding. Hello Week means that they're coming in. And the way I like to look at Hello Week is it's Hell Week with an O, which I know you're like, why would anybody want to go through Hell Week? But here's the thing, what I found is most people getting their license have no clue what they signed up for. They think they're going to go to HGTV. They're going to open some look at some pretty houses, open some doors. They didn't realize like, hey, I'm getting into a sales profession. And at the end of the day, what I'm selling is me and my knowledge and my expertise, and why they should use me and not the agent next door. Right. And so, the Hello Week is really designed for us to give them a foundation of real estate. So the thing for us that we get them in here is they come into Hello Week. By about the third day, 30% of them have opted out. And it's because day one, we're hitting on, and this is how I'm getting everybody in production. So right now in my organization, in the first 90 days, you will sell 3 homes on average. Your first 90 days in the business. I have a gentleman who's at 6, and he's been with us for 30 days. So, but generally speaking, on average, 3 homes within 90 days. But how we start them is day one. First of all, we expect them to be in the office at 8:30 to 5 every single day for that first week. And we're teaching them the foundation, like literally the tiniest foundation of like, this is what it is, and your CRM. So on day one, we hit on leads. And we talk about the foundation of real estate. And I give the analogy, Jeremiah, of a doctor. I'm like, how many of you guys have been to a doctor before? And all of them raise their hand. I'm like, that doctor went to medical school. But think about it, like if he doesn't have a patient, he doesn't make any money. Well, all of you guys went to real estate school, but if you don't have a client, you don't make any money. So your number one job in this industry is to, first of all, have a lead that can turn into a client. And then your second job is to service them. And so I'll take them through on that first hour of where do leads come from? And so I'll have them list out all the different types of leads, and then we're throwing them in there with Ojo and realtor.com or open houses, and we list them all out. And I ask them, I say, okay, if you weren't on this team, where would you get your leads from? And pretty much every one of them was like, my SOI, maybe an open house. So I show the value of like them being on the team. And then from there, I take them through the process of putting them in the leads in a funnel, their database, and how long they take to convert. And if they need immediate business today, where can they get immediate business today? So I went on a tangent there, but my point of this is how we're getting them into production. And what it looks like is we bring in new agents, and then we teach them basically over those 2 weeks, we teach them a boot camp of how you can be into production. By the end of the 2 weeks, they have to, by the end of week 1, they have to have their LP Mama without a script down. They have to have read the compound effect. They've had to put 100 people in their SOI, and they've had to show up from 8:30 to 5 to go through all of our basic trainings. They make it through that, then they get to onboard onto the team. By the end of week 2, they have to pass off a buyer consultation by the end of week 2, as well as then there's a higher level of training on the CRM and the contracts. And then that's when we start putting them on lead flow.
So what I just heard you say is that you are following a playbook of what a lot of the most successful telephone sales organizations do, which is hire fast, put people in action, and weed out the winners. And so when I hear you say that a lot of these agents, or a third of them, are quitting by day 3, it reminds me of when I was 16 years old and I took a job as a telemarketer.
Yeah.
And by the 4th day I was there, I was like, where did all those people I onboarded with on Monday go?
Yeah.
And so it's like you're demystifying. Like often agents spend months like figuring out, oh, I need to solicit.
Yeah.
You're helping them understand it quickly.
Well, here's what happened. So I'm glad you brought me back to this. This was my whole point. So day 3, 30% opt out, because on day 2, I'm giving them 10 old leads from the CRM to call, text. So day 2, they have to call, text. If they usually by that time, like on Wednesday, they're like, oh, and they're opting out. They're not opting out telling me like, I don't want to call, text. They're usually coming and saying, hey, I had another opportunity come present itself or whatnot. They're not saying, hey, I didn't want to do the work, but we give them leads on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So 10 leads a day, and they have to do it from our system. So by the end of this, we know that they've done the call, text on 40 old leads. And that's where we're getting the traction with them of saying, am I willing to do this? Now, Jeremiah, by day 90, I only have half the people who have come through Hello Week make it. So weeding out 30%, and then we still have another 20% that don't make it past day 90. And so we just know that this is how the business works. And again, we'll put everybody through, but part of this too, I haven't been able to just figure out who's going to be successful in this industry or not. Like, I think there's people I've hired that I've been like, oh my gosh, they are going to be so good. And then it's like a flop. And then people have been like, there's no way. What are we doing? Like, why are we wasting our time? And they've been amazing. So bringing them through this Hello Week is just our opportunity to be like, you have a chance. Let's see how you show up, because we can teach real estate. I just can't teach grit. Like at the end of the day.
I love it. I mean, the reality is everybody on this call knows that there is an extremely high failure rate in our industry. What you're doing is you are helping people understand what it takes and helping them kind of self-discover whether or not they want to sign up for that. And you're doing it quickly, which is magic.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we're also, so there's questions on here, like, how are you getting them into production and what are you doing? I mean, we have a lot of leads, like Ojo is a big component of our business. But I'm also teaching them, like, you can't just rely on us. Like, this is a 50-50 partnership. And so if you're wanting immediate business, like there's for sale by owners that literally have a green light on their head saying, I want to sell my home. Like, if you're desperate for money today, like you need to make money today, go find that person that needs to sell their home. Same with get yourself an open house. I don't know about you, Jeremiah, but I'm not looking at going to open houses unless I'm thinking about wanting to buy a house. Right. So like put yourself in the situations that people are willing to, like, they're out there looking. And then all of you guys that are on here, I'm assuming run CRMs and have old lead ponds or people looking online. We give them access to it. Like we give them access to our ponds that are old leads that agents have left over the years or whatnot that weren't serviced correctly. And they have access, if they're online, follow up, And so it's just more or less teaching them, like, you just got to put yourself out there and be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that's why we give them the leads on day 2 of like, this isn't going to be comfortable, but let's see if they're willing to do it. So
that's awesome. Awesome. Hey, Spring, I'm a question is going through my mind that I think is probably going through other people's minds and I know you've gotten this question before. We've all gotten this question. How do you keep those people? So now you've got them through your team. They're in production. They're producing. They're happy.
Yeah.
How do you retain them?
I think we do a really good job at this, actually. Chris, I believe people don't leave companies, they leave leaders. And I think that part of what sets us apart is we do run a very high vibe culture with a lot of opportunities. So Once you get into enter our ecosystem, the other thing I think that people associate that only people work for you because of money or lead flow. And I just don't find that true. I think people work for companies because they're proud. They're proud to be in business with them. There's opportunities that's prevented, opportunities that happen, as well as growth. So what we do is we have a growth plan. Once they sell 24 homes, they can opt in to be a mentor on our team. And when you opt in to be a mentor, you get put into leadership training. And we don't just coach on how to coach another agent. We, on the leadership training, teach real life. And so we'll do wealth plans with them. We teach them how they can create wealth. So like, for example, I have Jace, who's been with me for 5 years. He consistently sells about 40 homes a year. And when he came in our organization, he had $11 in his bank account. Well, last year he bought 3 rental properties. I mapped out a wealth plan with him. I showed him how in the end of 30 years, you can be worth $50 million if you follow this plan. And so he's following it. So he bought a brand new home for his family. He bought 3 investment properties, as well as invested in a couple of other things. And so we work with our agents that are wanting to grow and stay in our organization to help them create lives that they desire, whether it's we put them in other training outside of our organization, or we do it within inside of our organization. I will tell you, Chris, I'm fortunate because of ecosystems like this. I do have access to be able to be like, hey, can you speak to my team? Or have access to mindset and development and stuff. And so I would tell all of you guys that are team owners or they're sitting here being like, what more can I do? It's not all about the money. So my team's actually on a 50-50 split. The highest they can go is a 70-30. And that's only on their SOI. And it's only if they self-generate 24 deals a year on their own, like that they brought to the table. And again, we're retaining anybody who's like, I want to grow. The other thing I would tell you on this, Chris, too, is like, I'd be lying to tell you retain them all, because we don't. But the people that are like, I want to grow, I can appreciate the opportunity. And then the other thing we do is we have an open book policy. So I show my financials. Like, I don't have an issue showing the back end of our CSU of what things cost. And we track our numbers incredibly well. And so they can see where all their leads are coming from. And so we truly run a 50-50 organization, and sometimes even more, that it's coming from us, not them. And so when they can see the value of like, wow, I don't really want to go buy Ojo on my own, or I don't really want to go pay for my own office. And man, this transaction support's great, and it would cost me this much to do it. A lot of them are like, I'm here for it. So that's how we do it.
Yeah. And I think the 2 key things you said, Spring, is you created an environment where there's opportunities, and good people are always wanting and looking for opportunities. And then the other thing is the environment that you created is a great environment. And those are 2 things that any of us that have worked in any different companies or any different environments appreciate. And I think almost all humans do. So doing that and doing it, I'm sure, are 2 different things. It's always easier said than done, and there's more to it, but that's the key.
Well, I think it's being purposeful, because I've worked in environments where I didn't like going to the office. And I mean, even down, and this sounds so bad, but even the aesthetics of the office, where I was like, I feel like I'm in like a dungeon, dingy, like it didn't feel good. Right. And so, and I know that sounds so petty, but even down to like making sure your office just feels good. Like when it was time for us to move, I made sure that we had facilities that were nice, down to we reward and recognize. I mean, there's 6 human needs, and one of them is significance, and the other one's contribution out of them. And so we make sure we're giving our agents significance. Like we recognize them, and we recognize them in every single team meeting. So this is one thing, if you're a team leader, every team meeting, we're recognizing several agents for conversations, their scores on their lead flow, who's absolutely crushing it for under contracts. I mean, we recognize everybody because it feels good, right? And so I just challenge you, like, again, there's just more to it, but think about what you want, what you would want, and then go create it. So.
Awesome. Awesome.
Mhm.
I know we're going to have a lot of questions already popping up, but Jeremiah, how long do you want to go before we open it up to?
I would say let's start taking some questions. These are great. I see one from Stephen Cohen here, Spring. Does your organization have a team structure with a two-tier system of buyer specialists and listing agents, or are all your agents able to prospect and capture listings?
Yeah, so we let them do either or. So in my initial training, we only train on the buyer side for the first 30 days. After that, then we move to the listing side. If it's a company generated listing lead, I do only send those to specific agents that have gone through the training that we offer for that specifically. Now, Stephen, I am going to change this actually. Part of our focus moving into this last half of the year and into 2024 is our listings actually are lacking massively. Like we are so good at converting an online lead, but it is lacked on that listing side. And so you're not in Utah. I was going to say, you're going to see like billboards, direct mail, like we're going to go for creating that. And I am going to have the leads go into an ISA and then fed out to probably 2 listing agents that are specific for the company listing leads. But if you as an agent, your friend or family wants to sell their home as a listing agent, go for it. But the leads that I'm going to be putting tens of thousands of dollars behind will go to specific listing agents. We're actually kicking that off this month. Like I hired somebody to come in and do a 2-day boot camp and then a month-long training for who's going to be the listing agents to make sure they've just got their scripts and dialogues down.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. And I think that's a pretty common thread amongst the top teams, right? Is that there are people that they do this day in and day out, and they're excellent at converting listings. It's a skill. And I think what you said is super smart, that there was a period of time, right, where it was like an agent on a team would be told, yeah, no, you cannot take a listing, right? And I think that is a transformation in the industry, that the teams that tell agents they're not allowed to list when they're out prospecting and finding their own opportunities are really looking at having to revisit that.
Yeah. Well, I did it that way for a while. This was years ago and it was a conflict. So again, it's open, but now that I am going to go and drop a lot of money behind it, I do want to make sure that, that it's being the right skill set going to that kitchen table. I mean, you all know that it's just a different conversation when you're going to meet with somebody about their equity in their home and how you're going to sell it. And so it's not going to be open to every agent on the team, but
Yeah.
Every agent has an opportunity to apply to be that agent. Like it's open if they want to do it and go through the training, but I'm not going to just put it out there. So
Got it. There's a couple questions in the chat about where you find immediate business. I know you talked about for sale by owners. I also know you said that you asked the agents to add 100 people from their sphere. Can you like de-blur that further? What does that actually mean when they add 100 agents or 100 people from their sphere rather?
Yeah. So week 1, so one of the activities we will do, so in the United States, 1 in 12 homes sell annually, right? And so we'll walk them through, everybody comes in saying they want to make 6 figures a year. So we'll walk them through that technically, and after splits and stuff, it's 200 people that they want in their SOI. So the way we do it is week 1, 100 people in their SOI. By the end of 30 days, I want it to be 200 people. Those 200 people in their team agreement is who they leave with. Anybody they submit within that first 30 days are theirs. They leave, they're that. After that, if they're in the database, there are leads, right? And so we're encouraging them to go in, but they add them, then we'll start putting them into our marketing campaigns of help them generate some business. Immediate business is this. In our world, which we've been in business for a long time, so we do have old leads that are like, that, I mean, I'm sure this, like a lot of teams, that it's almost like it's, we call it the pond, but it honestly, it's just the fact that we've had agents leave and not take care of the leads, and there's been a surplus of them. So we give them access to the pond after we give them the 40 leads, and then we give them access to the pond at that week 2. They can only pull at one time. We have the lead routing rules. They can only have 100 leads, period. So if they're going to take one, they have to give it back or whatnot. But the immediate business, we're teaching them, go fishing in the pond. Go do an open house, like get out there and do the open house, reach out to your SOI. So we want them actually reaching out to 100 of their SOI that first week. They cannot go on lead flow. We put them on lead flow on week 2, at the end of week 2. They cannot go on lead flow if they didn't have 100 conversations a week. Like if they weren't willing to do the activities, we're not putting them on lead flow. And then from there, we're teaching them to use social media as well. Social media is like a free commercial. And I can't tell you how many deals we get from social media of them just even putting it out there. So this is the one thing I will say, Jeremiah, is every agent's different. So I have some agents that love to be on the phones and they're on the dialers, and I have others that are scared out of their mind of it. And I have some that love open houses and others that are like, no, thank you. So we teach them that they have to have 4 legs of their stool. So their business is like a chair, and they need to have 4 things that they are going to be the experts at. And whether that's online lead conversion, maybe it's their SOI. And when we say their SOI, it's not, hey, I'm going to put my SOI in your database. It's like, hey, I'm going to, here's my SOI, and here's the top 30 people I'm going to, or 50 people I'm going to really build this relationship with and provide value. Maybe it's open house. If it's open house, it's not, oh, I'm going to do an open house once a month. It's, I'm going to do an open house at least once a week, maybe twice a week, right? And if it's social media, hey, I'm going to post to social media 6 times a day, not 6 times in a month, right? So whatever they're going to choose is then what we hold them accountable to, of helping them get trained on it, but also hold them accountable to their activities.
That's great. And I think that's the key, that the key word is activities, right? Too many agents think, oh, I added my sphere to my CRM. I sent out an email blast. And what I hear you saying is, oh, no, like you are connecting with these people. You are talking to them. You're not just uploading them.
Stop spamming your SOI. If I could give one piece of advice to everybody on here, stop spamming your SOI. Like, stop making your SOI feel like they're just another person. Like, nobody, your SOI doesn't care about you're just listed and you're just sold and you're random. I mean, how many of you guys get the emails from the lenders right now that you're like, it's the same email that comes from like 5 lenders, you know? So it's one of those, it's like, just don't be that person. Like, yes, you can have your database on a drip or whatever, but your SOI, provide value to them, create a relationship with them, make them feel special. This is an interesting fact, and I'm not proud of it, but we do have a lot of lead sources, right? Well, we've been doing an audit of our database and like, how can we get our conversions up? Because if we can get our lead conversion up, then it's just extra profit at this point, right? So we've been going through 70% of the leads that we're getting coming in through all of our different lead sources are already in our database. We already have them in our database from somebody's SOI, whether they inquired another website, whatever it is. But what does that tell me? We have done a horrible job of providing value and keeping a relationship. And so they're going somewhere else to look for homes, or they're not thinking of my agent or myself for that business. And so I would just say, like, if you want to really, and Chris, you literally made this post, and I was like, yes, yes, and yes, right? Like, go and provide that value to the people that know, like, and trust you. It's a little bit more work, but at the end of the day, there's a return there as well.
Yeah.
You know, so.
I that's so good. And we get that a lot too, right? Agents will say, oh, you introduced us to this consumer, they're in our database. Okay, how long have they been in your database? For 3 years. When's the last time you guys were actively involved with them?
Yeah.
2 years ago. Okay, that's why they came to us and want to be introduced to a great agent. Are you that great agent?
Yeah.
Hey, Spring, one thing that everyone on here has in common is, and you've mentioned a couple times, is online leads. What's your philosophy for your team in terms of training and how to effectively handle online leads? And yes, it's a self-serving question, so for those of you paying attention, but I also truly want to hear what you guys do.
Yeah, so I'm a huge fan of online leads, you guys. So when I stopped working for that land developer and I moved into like the metro market, I was that agent that was afraid to call my SOI and afraid to do all these things. So I went and bought, back when Boomtown was exclusive, you can only have one for the area. That was me. And that's how I started this team. And so online leads are our specialty. And so the way that we work it is at the end of week 2 on onboarding, if they've passed off all their stuff, we'll put them on lead flow. We'll start them on a certain lead flow, dependent upon who they are. And because we have a few different aggregates, we don't put everybody on everything. And then we monitor it. So we only give them 3 leads. And on those 3 leads, then we're listing the phone calls. We're seeing that they updated the back end of the aggregate portal and what ended up happening. At the end of those 3 leads, the reason we stopped it at 3 is so we can get ahead of it. So of just going in back in and training. After they've hit their 3 leads and we've gone in and actually listened to the call with them. Hey, this is how your call went. What could you have done different? Where is this at? Then we're going in and we're turning on the additional lead flow that they can have more. We monitor everything. Like it's we have a database manager. We actually have 2 of them that we monitor absolutely everything that's happening from speed to the lead. Are they updating the CRM? How many do they have in their pipeline, etc. The way that we manage it with their agents is there's one thing to be on the team and it's another one to be on lead flow. And those are 2 separate things. So you might be on my team, but if you want to be on lead flow, you will make sure that your scorecard, your lead scorecard is up to date. It has to be at 80% or above. And so the way that we do this, Chris, is Sunday night at 3:00, their databases are pulled. And I have a VA that does this and it's a full day process, but she goes in and does a complete audit. And so they can't have anybody as new, because new means they haven't called them. And this is just my world. So everybody does it different. If they have them as qualified, they have to show that they've done a call, text, and they've reached out a minimum of however many times for the days that they've been qualified. If they're in nurture, means that they have been communicated with in terms of what they should be in nurture. And then if they're a hot lead, the hot leads are once a week. I always say it's like dating. If somebody's hot, like you're hot and heavy with them, it means you're talking to them. You know their situation, they're going to transact. And then we have the watch, and the watch is once a month, nurtures twice a month. This scorecard, if there's any past to-dos, anybody who's not at 80% of follow-up, they get turned off of lead flow. So it's pulled on Sunday, Monday at 4:00, they get notified with their scorecard if they're on or off lead flow for the week. It's reevaluated on Friday. So they only are off of lead flow for that 4 days. And the conversation is just that, hey, we appreciate you. Thank you so much. It looks like you're so incredibly busy. We're going to pause your lead flow so you can get caught up. Let us know when you're caught back up and we'll get you turned back on. And then from there on Friday, again, it's pulled. They can go back on for the weekend if it's back up to date. If not, it's pulled again on Sunday. If I'm being very transparent with you guys, we probably only have 20 agents at a time on lead flow out of all of our, let's say we have 85 agents right now. So you have a majority of the team that's not following up correctly, or that's off and then they're on or whatever. And so we always monitor it like crazy and they get pulled off. So for example, I was on the phone with my director of ops this morning and she said, hey, we had these 5 agents at a 50% answer rate last week. I told them to get it picked up or they're off of lead flow, period. And I was like, whoa. Yes. And there's a delivery, there's a way we deliver of saying, hey, we're a partner with Ojo and this relationship really matters to us. So if you can't answer your phone with this answer rate, we expect in our world, it's an 80% answer rate. We're just going to pull you off, but not, she was just like, nope, this is what's up, you know? but we monitor it, and I would say we've got it pretty dialed, but we're I don't think we're perfect by any means. So
No, but look, no one is, but you're doing more things right than most. One of the key things you said, Spring, and I hope everyone heard it, is a lot of times on teams, we have an expectation that everyone should be doing the things they should be doing. And the reality of it is that's just not going to happen. So what you've done is you've created a system where, hey, the people that are get rewarded, the people that aren't don't necessarily get punished, but you're not going to throw good money after bad or waste opportunities on the ones that you know aren't going to do anything. And you're giving them an opportunity to level up and to earn that right.
we also let them earn the right to the higher quality leads by activities. So their scorecards are one thing. Then if they're hitting a minimum of 100 conversations a week, then they get the opportunity for our higher converting leads, such as Ojo and whatnot. And so it's a tiered system of how you earn the right to be able to have the higher converting leads. And this is what we actually started last year, mid-year, because you guys, like, our business actually was on fire last year until mid-year. And then all of a sudden it started creeping up because of the rates and whatnot. And what was happening was our agents were used to just being order takers. They weren't used to having to work in a CRM and provide value and to nurture. And so we had to take it back of like, no, the real world of real estate is people don't buy a house overnight. Like, you have to build a relationship and work from a CRM. And you actually have to talk to people. And so we went back and implemented the database and the conversations to get the higher quality leads, because we wanted to reward those that were willing to work.
And the thing that I hope you all are catching is that whenever Spring talks about something, it's not, well, if we feel like they're doing a good job as an agent, or if they're showing up and trying really hard, right? Which that subjective kind of fuzzy stuff is how a lot of people run their teams. For everything that Spring talks about, if it's this metric by this time, by this day. Now, what's interesting is in these conversations, what I always see agents do is they go, wait, say that again. What was that? And they try to anchor in on the thing that you said. My bet would be a lot of the things you're telling us, like 100 people in the database by this time, once upon a time, that was probably a different number. And you learned over time what the right number was. And the most important thing is actually having a structure and a framework, and then realizing it may not be right, and that's okay. You can change it.
Oh, we change all the time. That is the thing in our organization. Justin, who runs the day-to-day, he's like, ask the team, how often do things change around here? And they're like, every day, because we're constantly pivoting. And we're constantly pivoting because life changes, like the market changes. Like a year ago, if you would have told me, well, not a year ago, but a year ago in March, like this is where we'd be at, I wouldn't have guessed, right? And so that's a pivot that has to happen. And so, yeah, we're constantly changing. This is the other thing. I speak a lot, you guys. And I always tell everybody, I'm like, one rule before I go into this is I want you to have an open mind, because everything I'm going to share with you today, you've already heard. And that's the thing about this business. It's really simple. It's just not easy. And why it's not easy is because, to your point, Jeremiah, we're just not putting structure behind it. Like, it is a lot of feelings, or is this person showing up, or I get it. And I think the biggest thing I would say is, like, I had to change my identity from being a realtor to a business owner, and just saying, like, I had to stop being like, man, I get it. Like, I know they don't want to make the calls. I didn't want to either. But the business owner side of me is being like, holy crap, I've got a 6-figure bill going out every month. Like, they have to make these calls or there's not going to be a business, right? And so I think if you just know things are going to change, you have to pivot, and you've got to do what works for your organization. Like, take what I'm giving you, but then go put it into your world that makes sense for you and what you're willing to do.
Yeah, and I think the thing that I would love to hear you talk about, and I think would drive a lot of value here, is so many agents get stuck, and they get stuck in what I like to call the transition from quarterback to coach, right? Like, My guess is at 1,000 units, you are not doing 900 transactions a year as the listing agent yourself. You are firmly coaching. You are on the sidelines with the headset on, and your players are on the field. Whereas most really good salespeople struggle to get off the field. What insights could you give to help them get their heads around that?
Yeah. So there's no secret that I could sell a house today if I wanted to. But the truth of the matter is I haven't sold a house in probably 2 years if I really looked at it. And to your point, Jeremiah, it's exactly that. Now, for me, it got to the point I didn't have any ego involved in it needed to be me, or that I didn't feel like somebody else could do it or that I could do it better. Right. And I recognized, again, mine came from probably pain of like, man, I don't know, like I'm burned out. And so it was more or less like, well, I got to create some leverage, and leverage comes from somebody giving you an opportunity. I mean, everybody on this call, somebody has given you an opportunity for growth and to learn. And so for me, I am always like, okay, what's the worst case that's going to happen? And I always tell my agents and my team, I'm like, you can't screw up, because nobody's going to die if we don't get this listing, or like if we don't answer the phone on time. Like, just use it as a learning opportunity. And so I also tell them, like, we're not heart surgeons. It's okay. It's okay to screw up. Like, let's just screw up and learn from it. And so I would tell you that it looks like this. Like, you've got to get to the point where you're willing to start creating leverage to have some growth in your organization. The only reason my organization has grown is because of other people. It's because I gave up some control and said, okay, I'll hire a sales manager. And then it was like, all right, well, now somebody needs to do the recruiting. Let's hire a recruiter, right? And I would tell you, even if you're a solo agent, your growth is going to come when you decide you get to that point. You need to hire a transaction coordinator to leverage out a little bit more of your time to go and sell more homes. Or maybe you're a small team and you're like, hey, I really want to have more time to either sell more homes or spend more time with my friends or family. Well, that comes with leverage. And so finding that right key person to help you wherever you're at is a game changer. And then the other thing I would just say, Jeremiah, is you have to train them. This is the biggest mistake. I coach a lot of teams right now, and they literally want to just hire somebody and be like, here you go. And I'm guilty. I've done that too. But at the end of the day, like, help circumvent the learning process and train the people so that you can get some more leverage. And I'm telling you, it's a game changer. Last thing I'll say on this, the right leverage will create the income for you. So there was a question on here about, well, how I compensate my sales manager. He's paid off of net profits. Like, he's probably one of the higher paid people in the industry, and he's worth every penny I pay him. And I will tell you though, when I hired him, I was scared. I was so scared, because I'm like, man, I'm guaranteeing the salary. Like, it's a third of what I make a year just in a salary, not bonuses. But I knew there's a couple ways I looked at it. One, I was hiring him for 3 months. So in my head, I was like, can I guarantee this 30 grand that I'm going to pay him? Am I okay with that to give this a try? And then the other component, I was like, well, if he does what he's supposed to do, this business is going to flourish and we're going to go to the next level. So it was worth it to me. And so whenever I bring on anybody, I think about the 90 days. And then if they're doing their job, you're going to ultimately be able to make more money. And that's how we've been able to grow. Do we empower agents to market themselves as their own brand, or are they confined to promoting your name and brand like some of the major national brands? Yeah, they totally can promote themselves. They do need to have our team's called the Utah Life Real Estate Group. That was intentional, just so it didn't have, like, originally 10 years ago, it was actually Spring. And I shifted that so that it felt more anybody could market that with their name. They're totally fine. They can go market, do their thing if they're wanting to do that. They do have to have the team information, and they have to also use the team branding guidelines. That's been a big one. Like, there's been a few things on social media lately that I'm like, where is this purple coming from? Like, this doesn't match anything with what we're doing, And so there is that, like, these are the parameters, but they can do what they want. So
yeah, That's amazing. And look, you have so much value in between your ears. We could just keep peppering you with questions, but we're 2 minutes before time. So Spring, give us some parting thoughts for the people that are on here, from individuals to teams.
Yeah.
What should they be thinking about?
I would tell you this. One of the best life lessons I received was when the economy crashed in 08, 09. I went from selling multi-million-dollar properties to short selling those multi-million-dollar properties. And what that taught me was there's always a market. Like, homes are always going to sell. And the question is going to be, is it going to be you? And so that was the mindset I took going into this market was, hey, yeah, rates might be going up, inventory might be low, but somebody's going to sell that real estate. So it might as well be me. And so I'm just going to challenge you, because I get messaged multiple times a day, no hyperbole, Spring, I need a mindset coach, or I'm kind of in a funk, or this market's been brutal to me. And our team's actually growing with a lot of experienced agents right now. They're just like, I need some structure and your environment. I'll tell you this, like, the home is going to sell. There is always a market. You have to decide if it's going to be you. And I would also tell you this too, like, it truly is just going back to that foundation. This is a human relationship business that's not going away. So people will buy a house from those that they know, like, and trust. You just need to be putting it out there and getting yourself back out there. And whether it's through Ojo and creating that value, or you're doing it through your network, but I'm cheering you on, because you can make this the best market. Your competition's going away, and you can make this the best market you've ever been in if you choose to.
That's amazing. If people want to get a hold of you, if they want more info on coaching or joining your team or anything else, how does somebody get a hold of you?
My website, springbee.com, or you can follow me on Instagram, realspringbee. Either way, we've got a training on there on the website. You can hit inquiry, or just follow me on the gram and I'll follow you back and we'll be friends.
Awesome. All right. We'll make sure we send that out. Thank you so much. Hey, if you're still here, which there's over 200 of you still here, because there's just amazing value being dropped for the last hour, say thank you in the chat. Take a minute, jump in there, say thank you, and let's show Spring some love for spending her time with us today. This has been invaluable.
Yeah, thank you. I'd love, instead of a thank you, I'd love to know your biggest takeaway. Like, what was your one thing that you were like, hell yes, that's the one I want to execute, or an aha? Look how fun you guys are. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, I love it. Post your chats, and even better, post your takeaway on Instagram and tag Spring and give her some credit on the gram.
That's good. Yeah, I've definitely made mistakes, you guys. I'm still making mistakes. And sometimes I'm like, man, this feels really messy. So I think Chris can probably agree, from having a team, like, it might look like it's all organized, and on the back end, you're like, oh my gosh, I still have work to do. It's never ending, but that's what makes this fun. So yeah.
That's absolutely right.
Spring, thank you so much. You were awesome. And everyone on here got value, no doubt about it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate our relationship. So thank you so much.
Us too.
Rock and roll.
Great partnership.
Okay, thanks, you guys.
Thanks, everyone. Have an amazing and safe 4th of July holiday. Part of the Ojo team will be out next week. So if we're a little slow to respond, give us some grace, because part of the team will be out for Wellness Week. But keep an eye out for future masterclasses. Please engage with the content. It will get emailed out later today. And follow up with Spring and show her some love, post on the gram. And again, we appreciate you. Thank you, everybody, for your partnership with us at Ojo, and have an awesome weekend.
Thanks, you guys. See ya.